Welcome, chosen ones. Imagine you're one of the rare few who's been picked, not for an easy life, but for a life that will test and shape you in ways you never could have prepared for. You're not here to blend in, and you're not here to settle. Life hands you challenges that most people can't imagine. And yet, these aren't accidents or signs that you're on the wrong path. These are the marks of the chosen, of those who have something deeper to uncover, a purpose that requires more than average strength. The journey you're on isn't about proving anything to the world. It's about becoming someone you can respect, even when no one is watching. Each test you face will ask you to dig deeper, grow tougher, and find clarity within yourself that no one else can give you. You'll go through stages of loss, disappointment, even betrayal, and every one of these will demand that you rise up, not just to survive, but to transform. Why are you chosen? Because there's something in you that isn't meant to stay small or ordinary. It's a calling, a deep pull that's been there all along, though perhaps hidden behind layers of doubt or distraction. You're one of the few who can confront life's toughest lessons head-on, not because you enjoy suffering, but because you sense that these struggles are shaping you into someone unstoppable. So, if you're feeling the weight of these spiritual tests, know that you're not alone. This is a path walked by others who've been tempered by hardship and who've emerged with a strength that can't be taken away. Each test is a challenge, yes, but also an invitation to rise, to break out of old limitations, and to discover the kind of power that only those who are truly chosen ever get to know. If you're ready to dive deeper, I've outlined 14 extraordinary points that explain this transformation and its meaning. Watch to discover the powerful truths that await you on this path. I urge you to stay with me until the end for better understanding as chosen ones you are. Number 1. The temptation of power. The temptation of power is a test that comes not in obvious ways, but in subtle whispers that dig deep into your core. When you've been chosen for something greater, life has a way of giving you strengths you never thought you'd have. An influence, resilience, or clarity that sets you apart. But along with this power comes a new kind of temptation, one that tests not just what you can do, but who you choose to be. This isn't about craving fame, money, or other usual desires. It's about the hidden urge to use your power for control, to bend situations and people to your will, because you now have the ability. This test strikes hardest in moments when no one would ever know if you misused your strengths. It's the lure of making things work in your favor, even if it means going against your own values. When you're in a position of strength, it's easy to justify small compromises, to convince yourself that the ends justify the means. After all, who would it harm if you took a shortcut here or manipulated something there? It's these quiet decisions where the darkness doesn't look all that dark that are the real tests of character. But this temptation is more than just a moral dilemma. It's a question of whether you can resist becoming the very thing you're here to rise above. Power can twist you subtly, turning even good intentions into self-serving actions. The greatest challenge is staying true to yourself when the easier, more tempting path is right there in front of you. To choose integrity over influence, humility over control, takes strength most can't imagine. The ones who pass this test don't just emerge stronger, they emerge purer, knowing that they didn't let power compromise who they are. They understand that true power isn't about controlling others. It's about mastering themselves, even when no one is watching. Only the chosen ones grasp this depth, and that's what makes them unbreakable. Number 2. The cycle of destruction and rebirth. The cycle of destruction and rebirth is a brutal process, a relentless stripping down that feels more like survival than growth. It's not a single moment of transformation, but a continuous series of breaking points where everything familiar gets torn apart. Chosen ones endure this not once, but over and over, as life forces them to question everything they thought they knew. Each time they think they've reached some solid ground, it crumbles beneath them, demanding that they let go of who they were just moments ago. This isn't the kind of change that happens by choice. It's more like an unraveling. It begins with a feeling that something isn't right, an unsettling sense that they're holding on to beliefs, identities, or ideas that no longer serve them. But the real challenge comes when these things are forcibly stripped away, leaving them exposed, raw, and uncertain. The routines, relationships, and even self-images they once relied on become unfamiliar. In these moments, they have no option but to confront the uncomfortable, deeper parts of themselves, the parts that they might have been avoiding or hiding from. Each cycle leaves them changed, but it also leaves scars. It's a painful process of letting go of what was, a surrendering that feels more like loss than growth. They lose pieces of themselves, old habits, outdated beliefs, and even people they once thought they'd have by their side forever. But in this clearing away, they're given space to find out who they are without those attachments. They emerge each time, stronger, clearer, with a deeper sense of purpose, but only after a phase that feels like complete emptiness. Through these cycles, they learn that true growth isn't about adding to oneself, it's about letting go. It's about shedding every false layer until only the core remains. About understanding that every loss, every tearing down, is an invitation to become someone more authentic. The process doesn't get easier with time, but each rebirth brings them closer to their true self, someone unbreakable, someone no longer defined by the past, but by the resilience they've earned through each cycle of destruction and rebirth. Number 3. The test of relentless betrayal. The test of relentless betrayal is one of the harshest trials the chosen ones face. It's not just a one-time blow, but a continuous assault, often coming from those they trusted most. Friends, family, mentors, people they once leaned on become sources of betrayal, leaving them shaken and questioning everything they believed about loyalty and human nature. These aren't minor disappointments. They're deep wounds, the kind that make you rethink whether trust is even worth it. Each betrayal chips away at their sense of security, making them wonder if there's anyone they can truly rely on. This isn't just about learning to be resilient. It's a challenge to keep their heart intact. Every betrayal is a moment of reckoning, a point where bitterness and cynicism are easy roads to take. It's tempting to build walls, to shut people out, to abandon all hope in others. But the real test here is to rise above that urge, to find a way to keep believing in goodness despite all the evidence to the contrary. It's about holding on to compassion even when they have every reason to become hardened. The chosen ones are forced to face betrayal without letting it define them. They learn that forgiveness isn't just a favor to the one who hurt them. It's a way of freeing themselves. It's a refusal to let someone else's actions control their spirit. With each betrayal, they gain a deeper understanding of themselves, learning to set boundaries while also letting go of the bitterness that could easily poison their view of life. What makes this test so powerful is that it's a choice over and over to stay open. It's about staying true to their principles, refusing to be broken by others' choices, and choosing to see beyond the hurt. This constant betrayal builds a strength that's unshakable because it's rooted in compassion, not in revenge or bitterness. By passing this test, they don't just survive. They gain a deeper resilience and an unbreakable faith in themselves. They become the kind of person who can face anything without losing their humanity. Number 4. The responsibility of the outcast. The responsibility of the outcast is a test that strips away the comfort of belonging. For the chosen ones, it's not about being part of the crowd or gaining others' approval. Their path demands they stand apart, often misunderstood, sometimes even rejected, and almost always on the outside looking in. This isn't because they don't have the qualities that would allow them to fit in. They often do, and in a way that would easily make them influential or popular if they chose to follow that route. But they're called to a different purpose, one that requires they walk alone. This test is about resisting the deep human urge to belong. Being an outcast isn't just a matter of being alone physically. It's an emotional isolation, a feeling that no one truly understands their purpose or journey. They're constantly pulled to question whether they're on the right path, especially when they see others finding validation, friendship, or success in fitting in. It would be easy to conform, to bend, to adjust who they are just enough to be accepted. But this test demands that they resist that temptation, that they hold on to their integrity and individuality, no matter how uncomfortable it gets. For the chosen ones, being the outcast becomes a responsibility. It means carrying the weight of their unique vision without expecting others to validate it. They have to cultivate inner strength because they can't rely on the support or encouragement that others might receive from a group. Instead, they find purpose in their solitude, using it as a time to deepen their own beliefs and understanding. They learn to become their own source of encouragement, to be fueled by their own conviction. Through this, they discover that their purpose isn't about being understood or accepted. It's about fulfilling something larger, something that often requires they remain separate, independent, and unwavering. In the end, being the outcast is not a punishment, but a path to a powerful self-reliance, one that builds a resilience that can't be shaken by rejection. They emerge with a sense of purpose so deeply ingrained that it no longer depends on anyone else's approval. Number 5. Being tested by false gurus and leaders. The test of facing false gurus and leaders is one of the most confusing and disheartening challenges for the chosen ones. In their search for wisdom and guidance, they encounter individuals who seem to hold all the answers, people who appear to have reached a higher level of understanding. At first, these leaders can seem inspiring, offering teachings that resonate and providing the direction they've been seeking. But with time, cracks start to show. What once seemed like wisdom begins to feel hollow, and beneath the surface, these so-called spiritual guides often reveal themselves as driven by ego, self-interest, or even deception. This isn't just a test of patience, it's a trial by fire in learning discernment. To see someone they once admired as deeply flawed is painful and can shake them to the core. It forces them to ask tough questions. How could they have been so easily misled? Why did they give so much trust to someone who didn't deserve it? But through this disillusionment, chosen ones are pushed to stop seeking validation from others. This experience teaches them to hold on to their inner compass, to trust their intuition, even when someone seems above them in status, knowledge, or charisma. The journey through false teachings forces them to redefine what true wisdom looks like. It's no longer about flashy words, grand promises, or complex theories. They start to recognize that true guidance doesn't come wrapped in ego or self-promotion. It's quieter, more subtle, often found in the simplest truths that resonate deeply and personally. The chosen ones learn to recognize the difference between shallow advice and genuine insight. And more importantly, they understand that the real answers can't be handed down by someone else. This test strengthens their ability to stand alone, unshaken by the authority or charisma of others. By learning to tune out the noise of false leaders, they gain a deeper confidence in their own path. They emerge from this trial with a powerful sense of self-reliance, no longer swayed by empty words because they've learned to trust the quiet, steady voice within. Number 6. The art of letting go over and over again. The art of letting go over and over again is a test that can feel relentless for the chosen ones. Just when they think they've finally reached a point of stability, that they've built connections, routines, or ideas they can hold on to, life steps in and demands they let it all go. This isn't a one-time act of courage. It's a cycle, a repeated surrender of the things they hold dear. Whether it's relationships, a place that feels like home, or even long-held beliefs that once felt like truth, they must loosen their grip and trust that moving forward means leaving things behind. This test challenges the chosen ones to understand what true non-attachment means. It's not a cold detachment or apathy, it's the ability to care deeply, yet know when to release something for the sake of their own growth. It's realizing that holding on to anything too tightly can create limitations on their experiences, on their growth, and even on their happiness. The chosen ones come to understand that life constantly shifts, and the only way to truly flow with it is to open their hands and let go when the time comes. Letting go, again and again, requires an incredible strength that doesn't come easily. It's natural to want to keep what's familiar, especially when it's something that once brought joy, comfort, or meaning. But for the chosen ones, clinging to the past would be a betrayal of their own journey. They learn that each release brings them closer to who they're meant to be, peeling away the layers of attachment that weigh them down. Through this constant process, they grow lighter, more open, and more attuned to the present moment. This test is both painful and liberating. Each time they let go, they confront their own fears of loss and the unknown. Yet each time they also find a deeper resilience and a new layer of self-understanding. They become adept at moving forward without baggage, knowing that what truly matters will always be within them. In the end, this repeated letting go teaches them that freedom isn't about what they hold on to, it's about what they're willing to release. Number 7. Enduring the judgment of the world. Enduring the judgment of the world is one of the harshest trials the chosen ones face. Society often loves to label those who don't fit neatly into its molds, calling them odd, naive, or even delusional. To the outside world, their choices might seem reckless, their beliefs outdated, or their way of living misunderstood. The world looks at them and sees something that doesn't conform to the norm, and so they become targets of judgment. It's a brutal, constant reminder that not everyone will understand or support their path. And yet, through all of this, the chosen ones must hold firm. This test isn't about avoiding judgment, it's about learning to thrive in spite of it. Chosen ones are forced to develop an unshakable sense of self-worth, one that doesn't depend on the approval of others. They must create an inner fortress that protects their confidence and sense of purpose, even when the world questions or ridicules their every move. It's about standing tall in the face of scorn, knowing that the direction they've chosen for themselves is right, even if no one else sees it. For many, this is the hardest part of the journey. The urge to be accepted, to belong, and to fit in is strong. It's easy to feel rejected and isolated when the world constantly casts doubt on your beliefs, actions, or decisions. But the chosen ones are forced to dig deeper, to rely not on external validation, but on the quiet, unshakable knowledge that they are walking a path that is uniquely theirs. In the end, enduring the judgment of the world is a refining process. The harshness they face from others is what sharpens their inner resolve. They learn that the opinions of others are just noise, and that their worth is not defined by what others think. They must trust their purpose, even when the world questions it, and continue forward with conviction, knowing that their journey is meant for something greater than the approval of the masses. Number 8. Confronting the mirror of darkness within. Confronting the mirror of darkness within is one of the most grueling spiritual tests the chosen ones face. It's not about a surface-level realization of their flaws or a simple effort to improve themselves. No, this is a deep, uncomfortable reckoning with the parts of themselves they would rather avoid, the darker impulses, the hidden weaknesses, and the aspects of their character that they may have spent their entire lives trying to ignore. This test forces them to look directly into the shadow, the part of themselves that holds the fears, insecurities, and destructive tendencies they'd rather not acknowledge. And what makes it even harder is that they cannot escape or deflect. It's easy to think of personal growth as a linear path, but when it comes to confronting the shadow, the journey is anything but. The chosen ones are asked to accept their darkness, not in a way that condones it, but in a way that allows them to see it, understand it, and, most importantly, control it. This isn't about being perfect or eliminating all flaws. It's about owning what's inside, including the parts that are messy, uncomfortable, or even terrifying. What makes this test so powerful is that it forces a choice. Will they let their darker impulses control them, or will they take responsibility for them and learn to rise above them? This is the real test of character. The chosen ones learn that it's not the darkness itself that defines them, but how they handle it. Do they allow their fears, envy, or anger to dictate their actions? Or do they face these shadows head-on, acknowledging them without letting them define who they are? This test is brutal because it requires absolute honesty and courage, but it's also liberating. By confronting their own darkness, they reclaim their power, learning that true strength lies in accepting all parts of themselves, the light and the shadow, without letting either one take full control. It's a test that brings them closer to their authentic selves, unburdened by the weight of denial or shame. Number 9. The challenge of radical truth-telling. The challenge of radical truth-telling is a test that forces the chosen ones to face the uncomfortable reality of honesty in a world that often prefers lies. At times, the truth is like a heavy burden, something that would be easier to keep hidden, especially when silence or bending the truth could smooth things over and avoid conflict. But the chosen ones don't have that luxury. When faced with situations where deception would offer comfort or protection, they are compelled to speak the truth anyway, no matter how difficult or isolating it may be. This is a test of integrity, an unyielding commitment to honesty, even when the consequences feel unbearable. It's not just about telling the truth when it's easy or safe. The real challenge comes when the truth has the potential to alienate others, to tear down the facade that people have built, or to challenge the status quo. In these moments, the chosen ones must muster the courage to speak what they know is right, even if it leads to conflict or sets them apart from the crowd. It's a brutal honesty that comes with the knowledge that, while the truth may be painful, it's far more powerful than any illusion of peace that comes from silence or lies. This test requires them to be fearless in the face of judgment, misunderstanding, and the inevitable fallout. They know that truth often carries a heavy price. Relationships may break down, alliances may shatter, and they may find themselves standing alone. But the chosen ones understand that living authentically is far more important than seeking approval or trying to fit in. It's not easy. In fact, it's one of the most isolating tests they will face. But radical truth-telling demands that they choose honor over convenience, knowing that the only way to remain true to themselves is by speaking the truth, no matter the cost. This test teaches them the value of courage, the strength in vulnerability, and the power that comes from standing firm in their truth, even when the world would rather they stayed silent. Number 10. Resisting the seduction of rest. Resisting the seduction of rest is a relentless trial that sets the chosen ones apart. While most people can hit pause, slow down, and coast through life, the chosen ones find that rest is a luxury they can't afford. The moment they think they've earned a break, or that they can finally let their guard down, life throws another challenge their way. There's no respite, no comfortable plateau where they can just breathe easy. It's as if the universe refuses to let them settle, constantly testing their resolve and pushing them beyond what seems humanly possible. This constant pressure is exhausting. It's a challenge not just of physical endurance, but of mental and emotional stamina as well. While others can find peace in a day off, the chosen ones are driven by an unshakable inner force that tells them to keep moving, to keep striving, no matter how much they might long for rest. The world doesn't pause for them. It seems to demand more and more, as if their purpose is to push through the limits that would break others. The temptation to stop is always there, but so is the deeper understanding that stopping means falling behind, letting go of the progress they've made. This test demands an unyielding willpower, an ability to keep going even when fatigue sets in and the world feels like it's closing in. It's not just about surviving the trials. It's about developing the endurance to face them head-on, no matter how often they come. The chosen ones must learn to function at their best, even when rest is nowhere in sight, developing a mental toughness that surpasses normal human limits. In the end, resisting the seduction of rest isn't about rejecting self-care or pushing themselves into the ground. It's about learning that their purpose requires a level of endurance that others may never understand. It's about tapping into a well of strength that doesn't run dry, even when the body, mind, and soul crave a break. The chosen ones rise because they know their journey doesn't stop, no matter how many times they wish it would. Number 11. The sacrifice of personal desires. The sacrifice of personal desires is one of the most profound challenges the chosen ones must face. At their core, they are human, with the same hopes and dreams that everyone else has, dreams of finding love, happiness, and a life of peace and simplicity. But the calling they are given demands more than personal fulfillment. They are asked to forego the very desires that make life feel worth living in order to serve something far greater than themselves. It's not a one-time sacrifice. It's a continuous, sometimes painful release of what they want in exchange for what they must give. This isn't about choosing between good and bad or right and wrong. It's about choosing between two things that are both appealing: the personal joys of a simpler life versus the heavier, often thankless path of duty. The chosen ones must let go of their longing for a life filled with ease and comfort, understanding that their purpose requires an unwavering commitment, even at the cost of their own personal happiness. It's a trade-off that feels unfair at times. Why must they endure hardship and sacrifice when all they seek is peace or love? Yet they know deep down that their journey is not just about them. It's about the greater good, the higher calling that demands everything they have, even their personal desires. This test is grueling because it forces them to constantly question their own wants, putting them in situations where they must choose purpose over pleasure, duty over desire. The road is lonely, and at times it feels like the sacrifices they make go unnoticed or unappreciated. Still, they press on because they understand that their sacrifices are not in vain. They are building something bigger than themselves, a legacy or a purpose that will outlast their personal dreams. In the end, the chosen ones learn that true fulfillment doesn't lie in the comfort of personal desires, but in the strength they gain from surrendering them for something far more significant. It's a sacrifice that takes everything, but it also transforms them into something much more than they ever thought possible. Number 12. Living without recognition or reward. Living without recognition or reward is perhaps the most grueling and soul-shaking test that the chosen ones endure. They pour their hearts, souls, and every ounce of energy into their journey, sacrificing, enduring hardships, pushing themselves beyond limits. And yet, there's no applause, no congratulations, no pat on the back. No one sees the blood, sweat, and tears they pour into their mission. They are asked to give everything without ever receiving the acknowledgement they deserve. In a world where validation is often the fuel that keeps people moving, the chosen ones must learn to thrive without it. This test cuts deep because it's not just about feeling unappreciated. It's about questioning whether it's all worth it when no one notices. They may wonder if their efforts are even meaningful when no one acknowledges them, when they're never rewarded for what they've sacrificed. It's a crushing feeling to give so much and receive nothing in return. Yet the chosen ones are forced to face this harsh reality and rise above it. They must cultivate an inner strength that doesn't rely on external validation to feel valuable. The worth they seek cannot be given by others. It must come from within. They learn that true value doesn't come from the recognition of others, but from the quiet, steady knowledge that they are fulfilling a purpose that is much bigger than themselves. They must anchor their self-worth in who they are, not in what others think or say about them. This is a painful but liberating process because it teaches them that their actions and sacrifices are valid, regardless of whether anyone notices. They come to realize that their value doesn't need to be proven to anyone, that the work they do is its own reward. In the end, the chosen ones discover that the greatest reward is not external, but internal. A deep, unshakable sense of peace and pride in knowing they're living their truth even when no one else sees it. Number 13. The burden of knowing. The burden of knowing is a weight unlike any other. When you're one of the few who sees beyond the surface, life takes on a different shade, a harder, sharper one. You start noticing things most people overlook or refuse to see. The quiet hypocrisies in people's words, the hidden motives behind friendly faces, and the deeper truths hidden beneath societal norms. This kind of awareness isn't something you can switch off, nor is it something others can easily understand. While others live comfortably within accepted illusions, you see the strings behind the curtain, and that knowledge can be both enlightening and isolating. This awareness doesn't feel like a gift. It feels like a responsibility you didn't ask for. It's the understanding that you can't simply go along with things, that you can't just ignore the gaps between what people say and what they do. While others might laugh off lies or accept facades, you feel compelled to look closer, to see things as they are. But the more you see, the more distanced you become from others. Conversations that once felt genuine can now seem shallow, and relationships that once seemed solid reveal cracks you can't ignore. You realize that very few people are willing to face the truth you now live with every day. This weight of knowledge isn't just about recognizing others' faults, it's about holding yourself to a higher standard, knowing you can't settle for anything less than real. There's an almost unbearable honesty required, a need to keep yourself accountable even when no one else will, and that's the burden. You're not allowed the same comfortable delusions that others can retreat into. The chosen ones who bear this burden often walk a lonely path, constantly questioning, always searching, and rarely finding easy answers. But this journey shapes them into something rare. Over time, they build a resilience, an unshakable sense of self, and a loyalty to the truth that keeps them grounded, even if it sets them apart. In a world that avoids hard truths, they become guardians of clarity, even when it costs them connection and ease. Number 14. Isolation beyond loneliness. Isolation at this level is more than just being alone. It's a separation that goes beyond physical distance. It's feeling removed even when surrounded by people, an unbridgeable gap between you and others, including those closest to you. Friends and family might be right there, but suddenly their words feel hollow, their presence distant. You look at them and realize they can't really see what you're going through, nor could they understand it if you tried to explain. The conversations you used to have seem shallow. The shared moments feel strangely disconnected. It's as if you're living in a different reality, one they can't enter, and one that you're not sure you'd want to invite them into even if you could. This kind of isolation is one of the hardest spiritual tests, and it's more than just a period of feeling alone. It's a total severance from all the things that once anchored you. The usual comforts, friends, familiar places, easy distractions, no longer work. The world becomes quieter in a painful way, forcing you to face everything inside of yourself that you might have buried for years. There's no running from it, no one to distract you from it, and no one to lean on when the emptiness hits hard. This is where you confront your truest self, the parts you're proud of, yes, but also the parts you might have hoped to avoid forever. In this state, you see your weaknesses up close and can't look away. There's no escape, no way to numb the discomfort, and at times it can feel unbearable. But it's here in this solitude that you're given a rare chance to strip away all the noise and really see who you are when nothing and no one else is there to define you. It's brutal, it's raw, and it's the kind of transformation that only the chosen ones endure. Those who come out of it aren't the same as before. They're stronger, clearer, and able to stand on their own in ways most people can't. In conclusion, the journey of the chosen ones is never easy. It's a path filled with sacrifice, struggle, and loneliness. They face trials that others can't even imagine, and yet, through it all, they emerge stronger, wiser, and more aligned with their true purpose. The hardest spiritual tests they endure aren't meant to break them. They're meant to shape them into something extraordinary. To be chosen is not to be celebrated or shielded from hardship. It's to be called to a higher mission, one that requires resilience, wisdom, and a deep understanding that their value is not tied to external validation or fleeting rewards. The trials they face force them to dig deeper, to confront their own darkness, to let go of what no longer serves them, and to stand firm in their truth even when the world doesn't understand. These tests refine their spirit, strip away the illusions, and help them connect to something far greater than themselves. As the chosen ones endure these challenges, they must remember that their worth is not measured by what others see or what they receive. It is in the quiet moments of strength, in the ability to continue despite the odds, and in the peace that comes from knowing they are living their purpose. The world may never fully understand their journey, but that's okay. The true reward lies in the growth they experience, the transformation they undergo, and the knowledge that they are doing exactly what they were born to do. So if you find yourself walking this path, know that the hardships you face are not signs of weakness. They are signs of your strength. You are chosen because you have the courage, the tenacity, and the spirit to endure what others cannot. Your journey is not for the faint of heart, but it is for those who are ready to rise above, to become who they are truly meant to be. And that, in itself, is a reward that no one can take away. Thank you very much for watching until the end, chosen ones. God bless you and meet at the point of your needs.